the new agrarianism that would put us back in touch with the land and with all the myriad ways that the land does bind us into a community. But the vice of the Georgic lies in its built-in task of domesticating the wild. I mean, you see that in these visions. The Concord farmers want a very managed space. Thoreau wants a forest that we will allow to stand and decay on its own terms forever. So the pastoral excludes the political, the Georgic excludes the wild, and the two end up competing with each other, often very angrily, as you see in Richard White's words, each imagining it sees in the other the betrayal of what it most needs to exist. The vision of cosmos takes a very different approach, and a much older one that reaches back to the roots of this stalemate to propose that nature isn't, and it never was, some kind of retreat from the human or the political, that creating this cosmos, or this good common world, requires that we be deeply thoughtful about our responsibilities to each other and to the wild non-humans who are also in their own myriad ways also at work composing and decomposing the common world that we all inhabit together. So one legacy of splitting these two is the scholarly riddle that it creates for those of us who study Thoreau, how to join his nature writings and his political writings. And to that I would say that acting as a citizen of the cosmos, Thoreau saw them as the same project, pursued through different forms of attention, with the goal of always creating a better community. We are morally obligated, he writes, in Resistance, in effect, in Resistance to Civil Government, to support efforts to build or enhance that community and to resist efforts that degrade or destroy it. And when you and I disagree about which is which we will sometimes, we must work like hell together to work it out, both through the democratic forum of public speaking and writing, but also through our actions, which alone give credibility to our words. The demands of living like this are extreme. We must constantly weigh or deliberate what we say and what we do, thinking how we are implicated by our choices, and then take responsibility accordingly. When Thoreau declared that he went to Walden Pond because he wished to live deliberately, he demonstrates that only if one radically simplifies one's life can one see with any clarity where the lines of responsibility fall and act accordingly. It's not a test that many of us would pass, which is why reading Thoreau's essay can make us all feel so very wretched and unhappy. But never fear, Thoreau has an answer there. Take heart. Or more exactly, take a heartberry. And here is where he turns at the end, what turned out to be the end of his life. The heartberry is a phrase from his prose poem on the strawberry in his long unpublished book manuscript, Wild Fruits. This strawberry, the first fruit of the year, can be detected as early as mid-May, though it's hard to see under the leaves, especially if your mind is unprepared for it. Only 1 in 100 know where to look for these early strawberries. It's a sort of Indian knowledge, Thoreau writes, acquired by secret tradition, a knowledge that leads us to the sweet scent of the earth and the pure distillation of the air. And this fruit is placed providentially just at the point in the year when the season of hope and promises is past. And already the season of small fruits has arrived. We're a little saddened because we begin to see the interval between our hopes and their fulfillment. But Thoreau says, attend well, find this berry, call it by its right name of heartberry, by its Indian name of heartberry, for it is indeed a crimson heart which we eat at the beginning of summer to make us brave for the rest of the year as nature is. Well, many of Thoreau's thoughts converge on the pages of Wild Fruits, which would have been, had he lived, a masterpiece. And for my conclusion, I'll only tease out one of those lines. Note the stunning about-face that Thoreau has made from Walden, where he glorifies the azad, the solitary tree that does not bear fruit and so lives free. From no fruit to all fruit, the trajectory of Thoreau's career in a nutshell, so to speak. To expound a little, in the earlier work, he moves out of town to cultivate that experimental bean field and enacts the Georgic in a pastoral frame, a demonstration project with very limited application for the rest of us. For how many have objected? What mother, what father, what daughter or son could possibly take such a book seriously? But in the later work, Thoreau's moved right back to the heart of town, literally onto Main Street. And he's now prepared to see what he missed before, the small wild fruits all around the doorsteps. The point isn't to make a meal of them any more than we should hold a conversation with each other in poetry. The farmers have their task in the cosmos to provide us with material sustenance, but even the farmers make way for Henry, the artist of the beautiful, who will lift those ground-lying leaves and reveal to us the crimson heart of nature that awaits there for us. Once we're, as he says, educated and made fit to live here, to live in the seasons as they pass. Well, nothing could be more ordinary than this. Nothing could be more revolutionary. Wild Fruits is a model for us here today, living daily, ordinary lives, of how to live, nevertheless, deliberately. Not out in the wilderness, but here in town while raising the kids and cooking dinner and arguing politics in the town hall. Learn to pay attention to the little things, for it's all little things, right? Darwin was about to show the world that evolution itself is nothing but the accumulation of little things. And Thoreau suggests that democracy itself, the ground of the American state, is nothing more or less than an attending to little things, the voices of the least of us, not just the loud and the showy and the wealthy. So sure enough, Emerson fretted that Thoreau, rather than engineering for America, was but the captain of a huckleberry party, such a little thing. In Wild Fruits, Thoreau was preparing his answer to Emerson, but Waldo, this is how one engineers for America. At least the America that Thoreau wanted to see. Well, so here we stand. Looking back on Thoreau, almost 150 years after his death, approaching the 200th anniversary of his birth, when he looked forward to us, he had his moments of despair, for he foresaw the coming of the evil days, even as he set himself the task of communicating hope instead. As he asserted in what is surely the most wonderful final sentence in our literature, the sun is but a morning star. What interests me is how is it that so many of us find Thoreau so resonant with our time and our lives, even when so much has changed? How is it that he still educates us, fits us to live here today? One answer is that his words are timeless, universal, so they apply everywhere and always. I'm afraid I'm too much of a postmodern historicist to say that. I'm professionally obligated to distinguish among all the fine differences in culture and eras and to worry about imposing my truth as your truth. But there is a different sense in which this might be true when we triangulate our several lives along Thoreau's distant star. We're projecting ourselves outside our local time and place, even as we are recognizing that to grasp who we are and where we are is to locate ourselves in relationship to each other and to that distant star. We triangulate our differences by citing something that we behold in common, connecting one another, even as we acknowledge that we're not the same. In this sense, Thoreau is indeed the star that holds each of us here today in this church, bound together in Thoreau's name. I have a second answer, a more historical one, on which I will end. Thoreau was placed in the nick of time to witness the coming into being of our time, our cultural moment, in this place, America, with its hopes and betrayals, in full cry in his day as they are in ours. He and we are morning and evening of the same day, his sunrise answering to our sunset. For who here today does not sense that this day is closing, that some new day is coming, a day our children and grandchildren will greet in our place? The question then is, will Thoreau abide with us through the night? Will he be there in the dawn to come to help us greet that new day? I honestly don't know. The unfolding narrative of our cosmos is still being written. But I do believe that that day will dawn brighter if we keep Thoreau's writing alive through the night. Keep your copy of Walden open, and keep it nearby, and wild fruits, and Cape Cod and the others with it. The sun may set, but I think Thoreau's star will linger in the heavens yet. Thank you.